Last time I promised you something sexy for the next show. Now, sexy can mean a lot of things. Exotic, erotic, intense, dangerous, and yes, even pornographic. So, if I'm going to go for the gold star and circle all of the above on this multiple choice test, then I'm going to do it with a sordid, scary, and downright scandalous tale of one unbelievable night and morning in Vientiane, the communist capital of Laos, that I will never, ever forget. Hunker down, kids, and smoke 'em if you got 'em. This is Sexy Storytime on Buddha and the Slut. When you've been living out of a backpack for long enough, pinching those pennies or euros or baht or crowns or dong, and hey, who doesn't need to pinch some dong on the reg, am I right? You eventually find that magical spot you want to call home for more than a month. Someplace that clicks with your inherent cultural sensibilities. You know the deal. Good weather, great food, hot girls, fast internet, mostly avoidable plagues and crime, sand, sun, and surf, and God willing, all of it on the cheap. Tall order, you say? Well, not so much. These places ain't just in Alex Garland novels that get turned into Danny Boyle movies that ironically star A-list environmentalists while destroying the host ecosystem. They do exist. The problem isn't finding them, my friends. It's staying in them. Every country has a visa limit. As an English speaker, it may not feel that way if you've only been to the States or Canada or Down Under or jolly old England, but let me assure you, overstay your allotted tourist days, even in the West, and you can get slapped with a major fine, a ban, or worse. Now, spend enough time jaunting around Southeast Asia, hear enough frightened whispers in the line at immigration, see enough tearful expats being pulled into a blackened office at the airport by an M. Bison lookalike, hey, Street Fighter, and you start to worry about the worse. But at the same time, you don't want to leave, right? You found your digital nomad paradise. You've learned how to live light and stretch every dong and dollar. There must be ways to game the system, huh? Which is part of the reason, but only part, why this story is called Shall We Play a Game? The clock was ticking on my Thai tourist visa. I had one of the old double entry ones, which gave you 2 runs of 60 days apiece with the option to pay at immigration to extend each entry for 30 days. That's a total of 6 months in the Kingdom of Siam, where you only needed to hop across the border at the 90-day mark to activate the second half. But I'd already done that. My time in the Southern Isles was coming to an end, and my options for returning were limited. A border run by land would only score another 2 weeks. A cheap flight to Malaysia or Singapore, and then back would net a 30-day visa on arrival if you didn't already have too many stamps in your passport. But I read on a nomad forum that there was one country close by with a Thai embassy that still offered double-entry tourist visas. Joy. Just bring the paperwork, a passport picture, and $60 US, and they'd be processed the next afternoon. Clickety-click, tourist trick. By the following weeks, I was in the grimy, bustling center of Vientiane, the capital of the Lao People's Democratic Republic, comrade. I had already endured the bumps and diesel fumes of a $5 tuk-tuk to the embassy that morning, scarfed down 3 perfect croissants and macchiatos. Hey, at least the French colonials left something good behind. And now I was watching the sunset turn the Mekong River into amber fire. Travel guides had warned Vientiane could be sketchy after dark, but as night settled in and I drained the sweet, yeasty dregs of a golden drak in a Belgian burger joint on this infamous river, I knew something was missing. "Hey mate," I said to the pub's anemic owner as I paid my bill, "it's Friday, so where's the local scenery?" I arched an eyebrow and scanned a table of raven-haired beauties with big phones and tiny purses. He got my meaning. "Yeah, there's a place. You can walk there. Follow the river, maybe 15 minutes if you are slow. The buildings start to get taller. The place you want is 5 floors. You will hear music and see lights on the 3rd floor. But don't go there. Go to the 5th. "Cool," I said, checking my phone and seeing it was only 8:30. "So, girls go out late here?" The barman almost smirked as he dumped my change into an ashtray. "Stay there until 10:30. You will see." I did as he said. walked along the Mekong for a kilometer and watched pinch-faced tourists barter with bored vendors for mystery meat on sticks. Soon I heard tunes and saw flashing lights and stepped into the front hall of what looked like a burned-out office building. I climbed 5 long flights of stone stairs, footstep echoes sputtering behind me like car exhaust and dairy farts. I reached the bar at the top, but it was nothing special, just a cavernous country western themed joint with mismatched chairs and scuffed floorboards and a bunch of pool tables with the felt worn into grooves. I planted my ass at the bar, ordered a large beer lao, which is what you do in a communist country with a single state-owned brewery, and watched some bloated and balding Brits play snooker. Badly. 2 beers later, and it was 10:25. I was bored senseless, and that high-season sweat that no air conditioning can keep at bay was pooling in my shorts. I drained the bottle and asked for the check. The bartender, who had been silent up till now, made a curious grunt that seemed to ask, "Are you sure, mister?" That's when I heard it. The clamor of high-volume speech, high-pitched laughter, and high-heeled footsteps coming from the stairway. I checked my phone, and the screen flashed 10:30. The wooden doors swung open, and a river of cheap perfume and lacquered hair and glossed lips and black-rimmed eyes flooded the room. Or maybe it was more like a migration. A clockwork flock of beautiful birds eager to mate in exchange for shiny things to put in their nests. And there was plumage for every taste. Plunging party dresses and painted-on cat suits and schoolgirls with Brittany braids and Daisy Dukes so short and tight they must have worn them so deaf guys could read their lips. It was a goddamn high school fantasy parade, and I was just drunk enough to feel the kryptonite. I stood there and took it all in, till a woman across the bar caught my attention. She had piercing eyes and a stylish bob and cheekbones you could chop down trees with. She smiled just enough and raised her tumbler in my direction. I smiled back, miming a glass of my own, and tipped my hat to her. That was her cue. She slid off the stool and circled the bar towards me, taking long strides while keeping her glass perfectly level. Her sleeveless dress was tight at the waist and fell mid-thigh, a crisp white with matching heels and faux pearls. It was like meeting a modern-day Audrey Hepburn. You know, if Audrey Hepburn was Laotian. And a whore. "Can I convince you to stay?" she asked with only a hint of an accent. "Will you have a drink with me?" "Your English is excellent," I said, and ordered another beer. She seemed to float onto the stool beside me and crossed her legs as a lady should. "Are you from Vientiane?" "I'm from a village in the north, but have lived here a long time." She stirred her drink, a gin and tonic from the looks of it, and I studied her fingers. If you put a gun to my head, I'd have said she was late 30s, though her face didn't look a day over 22. "Then your schools are excellent. You speak better than most of my friends." My beer came, and I clinked it with her glass. She raised a polite finger in protest. "Not school. Travel. I learn English for work." She scanned the room, the hustlers and tourists and drunks, with flickers of disdain, and then locked eyes with me. And I understood. "So, you've been working for a long time," I said, tracing the curves of her mouth in my mind. "So they take you places, give you things, maybe ask to marry you." She laughed, signaling the bartender with a jiggle of the ice in her glass. She saw my expression change, though, and put her hand on my knee. "I don't need marriage, darling, and I can buy my own drinks." I felt a bolt of warmth shoot up my thigh, and I slid a little closer to her, just a bit. She squeezed, but her hand and gaze stayed put. "And you? Are you married?" "No," I crooned, looking to the sky and bringing my hands together in prayer. "Unless an angel someday parts the clouds, falls from heaven, and sings my heart back to life, I will be an old man with cats." "Maybe your angel is here," she giggled. "I cannot sing, but I think I can bring you back to life." She stirred her fresh gin and inched her fingers up my thigh. She knew the game well. Just bold enough to make the blood flow, but just coy enough that it would be my stiffening dick bridging the distance. "I'm sorry, you are lovely, but I never pay. I'm a romantic." I shifted away and took a deep breath. "You're romantic?" She raised a manicured brow and glanced south at my patch of pre-cum betrayal. I blushed, she laughed, I adjusted, and we drank. "What do you do?" she asked, breaking the long and somewhat sticky silence. "I'm a writer," I said, rolling my shoulders back and taking a deep swig. "Sell it with swagger, son." "Oh no," she cooed, putting her hand on mine as if hearing I had lymphoma. "What? What?" She shook her head and brushed her hair behind her ears, her magnificent jawline softening the blow. "Writer is all passion, but no money, baby. Good for fun time, not long time." And what could I say to that? She grabbed my pouting cheeks, leaned in, gave me a consolation kiss, and sauntered off to the toilet. I went to the men's, breathed in the heady stench of new mothballs and old piss, wiped the shame and sweat from my face, and pinched that half-hard dick into dormancy. I pushed past the old pros and snaggletooth girls working their game by the toilets, and I took the stairs in 2s and 3s back down to the street. It was quieter now. Well, except for the ladyboys screaming, "Handsome man," and the cops with assault rifles screaming back, "You need shave." Funny. Prostitution was supposed to be seriously illegal in Laos, yet it only applies to women working in public. So the ladyboys have a loophole and work their game like the rest of us. Maybe it was the beer and self-hatred, but an almost cute one followed me for 5 blocks. "Where you from? What you do? Suck you good? You fuck me or you suck me and I fuck you, please, I love you." By the time I reached my guest house front door, there was hot breath on the back of my neck, long fingers in my pockets, and I swear a roll of dimes jabbing at my tailbone. But I learned back in Thailand that you do not get rough with the third sex. They've had hard lives, they're mostly nuts, and have purses full of needles and knives. So I just banged on the door till the night clerk opened up, swatted her away, and ushered me inside. I could still hear her down in the street as I collapsed into bed. There's no way I could jerk myself to sleep with all that wailing. "You lose, mister! I give so good, but you lose!" Fucking buzzkill. The next morning I crossed town to pick up my passport with the new visa. It was a pretty painless affair, bad beer brain notwithstanding. Booze is a depressant, as are blue balls, so I went hunting for internet to shake off the mopes. This is a key part of the daily nomad ritual. Connection is gold when you're a stranger in a strange land, and 4 Wi-Fi bars piggybacking on a satellite feed are like hitting the fucking motherlode. Found another fantastic coffee shop, still French of course, with a pain chocolat so goddamn rich I would have married it, then filed for divorce and spousal support 7 years later. I stood out front and rode the sweet stimulant high. Plus, Marlboro Golds were only $1.50 a pack, so I was indulging in cancerous economics of scale. A pair of girls crossed the pockmarked pavement and walked right up to me. They looked in their late 20s, but you can never tell in this part of the world. I blame the skin-plumping humidity and good genetics. It's a curse we shared. They started chatting me up with big grins and widening eyes. They seemed fixated on my biceps and teeth, the fact I was from Vancouver, and they proclaimed their joy that I wasn't the usual, and I quote, "mean Russian, cheap Chinese, snobby European." Now, flattery will get you everywhere when you're teetering on the precipice of middle age, and it's always nice when your smile is appreciated in foreign lands. "We want to show you Lao hospitality since you are so nice. Come to lunch at our sister's." I said, "Well, I really should be working today. Can't escape deadlines with the internet." That much was true. "Oh, come on, only 1 or 2 hours. We pay for tuk-tuk there. You pay back. Great lunch, meet family. Tell us about Vancouver because our sister is going there in March." "Okay," I said. "But if you poison me, I hope you get a good price for my passport." They laughed. One of them called me adorable, and I went with them on a trek to the suburbs. After 20 minutes or so, we arrived at a cement-housed district in the outskirts of Vientiane. They paid the driver, and he looked at me in a way that seemed to say, "Good luck." We stepped through a heavy iron security gate and into a low-ceilinged sitting room. A handsome older woman, mid-40s maybe, greeted me from a cramped kitchen, poured me some strong coffee, and immediately began quizzing me about my rainy Canadian home. The other girls were like, "Don't drink coffee until we do, then you know it's not poison. We put food on table. You relax, you the man." They circled like songbirds around Snow White's head, making any excuse to pinch and squeeze and unabashedly grope me as they worked. This is something that doesn't tend to happen with strangers in my hemisphere, and so it was refreshing, and it put me at ease, and let's be honest, I was still stinging from Audrey Horburn the night before, and these girls were laying on the fuck me eyes something thick. It was hard not to think about the games we could play. Oily 3-girl Tetris to start. But then, just before eating, their older brother came downstairs, and he looked high. Now, opium's as common here as green tea and salted caramel frappuccinos are back home, but this dude seemed amiable enough. He was a big guy, stocky, a receding hairline, definitely looked like he could handle himself and had many times before. When he spoke, all the girls went silent. I guess you could say that he was the man, no matter how much I wanted to be. During a surprisingly tasty lunch of fried fish, curried beef, pig liver noodles, and coconut sticky rice with brown sugar, he asked me what my job was. I said I was a writer. I asked his. He said he was a blackjack dealer in the VIP room at a casino on the river, and had worked in Macau for 7 years before. Now that, my friends, is no small gambling pond. He asked if I played. I said that I had, remembering a few painful losses at the tables in Aruba during my first teen vacation. I joked that at least the drinks were free, and some divorcees from New York thought of me as their rabbit's foot and rewarded me for it. The man grinned and clamped a meaty hand on my shoulder. He asked if my math was good. I said that it was. All Ontario math elite in my teens, yo. He proceeded to tell me how, if he likes someone, they can come into the casino to his table and he can help them score some big money, which they split 50-50 the next day. I helped a man from Indonesia win $50K last night, and he only gives me 5% back. I would love revenge against him soon. Then he tells his sister to make me another strong coffee and invites me upstairs to see his system. One of the younger sisters, the super flirty one with the doe eyes and the Hans Christian Andersen witch's mole on her upper lip, comes to watch. I sit down in a small bedroom at a fold-out card table crowned by a metal box of betting chips and a deck of playing cards. Bicycle, Natch. We played a few hands and he shows me his system. It's his way of counting cards, using finger and word signals and leveraging the house rules in one's favor. He says I should come into the casino one night soon for a big win, and then we'd do the split. No camera in VIP room, man, he grins. Important people in Asia, government, movie star, mafia, they want privacy. Only use one deck, so easy to count cards. I pay attention, I learn everything, thank him, and say that maybe one night I will come in, but I'm light on funds at present and need to wait for a contract to come through. It's okay, I can front you money if you come, and then we split winnings. I can't play in Asia, I'm an official dealer, they would know. He pulls his thumb across his throat, and I'm suddenly reminded of that old pro wrestler, the crippler, Chris Benoit, who was one of my heroes, until the whole double murder-suicide thing. The doorbell rings. Big sister, the one who made lunch, says, "The one from last night, he back." And what do you know? It's the man from Indonesia, the one who shafted the dealer. He's here on an unscheduled visit to haggle over his winning split and maybe plan another hit on the casino later that night. He's a small man, sporting an oversized pinstripe charcoal suit, a pink dress shirt, scarlet tie and handkerchief, alligator briefcase, slicked silver black hair, gold and diamond jewelry, and impeccably manicured hands. His tiny eyes are set close together, black and piercing. He makes me think of a hungry pig who just caught wind of a fresh pail of slop being dumped in his trough, and you're the one standing in the way of it. His welcoming smile is a little too big as he sits at the table and says, "So, are you here to play too? We play." The dealer says to him, "This Canadian, he already lose 5K this morning, so maybe he want to stop." That's when he winks at me. The motherfucker winks at me, and I start to feel very uncomfortable. The Indonesian says, "You stay. We must play." He opens his briefcase. There are stacks of cash inside, easily 10 to 20K US, and a small handgun. I'd tell you it was a snub-nosed .38 to sound cool, but all I know is it had a barrel, a muzzle, and a trigger. They're both looking at me now. The dealer's body is squared off and too thick to take out, and I see him watching my movements closely. The Indonesian is just a twitch away from grabbing the gun. I sense bodies in the doorway behind me, and the room goes cold. I won't be fighting my way out of this. I only have one card to play of my own, but thankfully, it's worked for me in tight spots before. The earnest, naive, and impossibly polite Canadian card. I'd love to, I really would, but you know how I said I'm waiting on some money? Well, I just finished writing a story for a newspaper. If I don't send a draft back to the editor in Canada by midnight their time, which is like an hour from now, I will lose the job. This is really important to me. It's months of work, eh? The greasy-haired pigman laughs out loud, and the dealer does too. The room goes even colder. The little sister beside me makes a sharp inhale, wrings her hands, and lowers her head. The brother says something in Laotian. The older sister steps forward, blocking the exit with a curved paring knife and a plate of browning apple slices. I stand, slowly. Gentlemen, no disrespect. I am here for 3 more days. I can come to the casino when I have better clothes and finish my work. I'll get paid. They'll be worried if I don't meet my deadline for the story. They'll know something is wrong and they'll call my hotel and ask for me. The slick man narrows his eyes and leans forward. You come here tomorrow. 1 p.m. Promise. He holds out his shrunken hand to me. I wonder how many times it's held that gun in the briefcase. How many times it's pulled the trigger. I smile, nod, and quickly shake his hand. I ease by Big Sister in the doorway and pluck an apple slice from her plate. She looks at the dealer and lowers her knife hand, loosening her grip ever so slightly. I slip out of the room, go downstairs, and move into the courtyard. At the iron gate, I offer a goofy grin as I fiddle with the latch and ask someone to call me a taxi. The little sister calls the tuk-tuk, says it'll be 10 minutes, and encourages me to come back inside out of the sun. I tell her that I love sunshine. It's like summer here for me, and I've got Mediterranean blood. I try not to think about that blood pouring onto the concrete from a knife or bullet wound as I step into the alley and wait. Nobody says a word as I play tourist and take shitty iPhone pictures until the tuk-tuk comes. The same girls hop in with me and say something to the driver. I'm quick to interject. Fountain, please. 50,000. That's 50,000 kip, or about $6 US, more than enough to reach this Vientiane landmark. The fountain is dead center in the city, and we arrive 10 minutes later surrounded by chatty foreigners and local bigwigs on their lunch breaks. I hop out, shake both girls' hands, and wish them well with a big, cheery, nice to meet you, eh? The idiot Canuck. The little sister with the cartoon eyes and the glossy lips and the spider-legged mole surprises me with a hug. She pulls me close, squeezes the arms that she was fawning over when we met, and whispers in my ear, I think you like Robert Downey Jr. You like the Iron Man. Not just your look, but good actor. Very good. The tuk-tuk pulls away. I catch a breath and beat it down an alley in the opposite direction towards my hotel. An hour later, I'm pounding beer lao in my room and kissing my instincts on the mouth. And I don't leave that room until I catch the bus back to Thailand. It wasn't until I returned to Phuket a few weeks later that I learned this was one of the top scams in Southeast Asia. Lure a tourist into a home, ply him with food and flirtation and fibs of family traveling to his country soon. And then, once he's relaxed, draw him into a too-good-to-be-true blackjack system, followed by the sudden arrival of a mysterious gambler who's in cahoots the whole time. One hand for 10,000, winner take all, double cross. And with one guy as the muscle and the other toting a gun, you got a rube on the hook till his bank card runs dry. Fuck me blue. And that's the thing with games. Everybody plays them. Everybody gets played. And in the end, none of us know the rules. That's all for now, my friends. If you're enjoying the show, I implore you to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, etc. Take a minute to rate and review, and please pimp to your peeps. This episode of Buddha and the Slut was brought to you by Beer Lao. Because Asians make beer too. For the glory of the People's Democratic Republic, you will drink it, you will like it, and you will call the police if you see a fellow citizen drinking anything but it. Beer Lao. For the communist and Protestant in your life. Work, 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 drink, work, die.